time to get very mysterious.
Mystery.
Mysteries are fun.
Mysteries are fun. I like
It's
mysteries
a
quite a
fun
lot.
genre.
I agree.
It's a fun genre. And we're going to talk about a game that is neck deep in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
This week on the Season Limit Checkup OVA, it's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Owl and Ladium.
Hello.
This is episode number 224. It's a lot of episodes there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're going to talk about Root Film today. The spiritual successor, I guess you would call it. It's not really a sequel, but it's kind of the same mold and genre as the previous game that this team put out of Root Letter. Root Letter was more of a mystery game surrounding, I guess you could is more like with romance elements thrown into it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Root Film is more of a mystery game surrounding murder.
Yeah.
A little bit of a totally different thing here and there.
And surprisingly enough, you're more of an the one that talks about romance than you are in the one that talks about murder.
Yeah, it's surprising. I think it helps that they don't basically put you as the into a player character role.
Yeah.
You are just kind of guiding these two protagonists throughout each mystery and kind of helping them unfold what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as well it helped that they probably learned from the first game and were like, maybe we shouldn't just make our protagonists suck. That's kind of a thing that we should do.
Maybe have a likable protagonist.
Yes. So there's, like I said, this is off the heels of Root Letter and Root Letter Last Answer, which was the remake they did that incorporated a bunch of live action elements of the game. So basically it's just a FMV version of the original game and everything. It makes sense that that they kind of made a game in the same vein as Root Letter because back in 2018 they announced that hey, we have sold at least 400,000 copies of Root Letter,
which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's 2 years ago, so who knows how much combining in Root Letter Last Answer into that, how many copies they've sold of that original game. Supposedly when this game launched in Japan, the sales weren't great though.
Boo.
The first week of sales in Japan, they moved 1,679 copies for the PS4 version, and the Switch version was under that. So that's not a lot, but it does seem that they made up a lot of copies sold when it got released overseas. Because when the original game came out in Japan, it was only 8,000 copies got sold on the Vita and PS4. So there's I think it'll basically that number will creep up, hopefully. With this overseas release. And I would like this team to make more games because I think they've kind of found a good little niche that they've fit into. And with Root Letter and Root Film, I think they've done a really good job of making two different games but very similar games. And I'd like to see more of what they could do from this. Also, I mean, I would just like to see them remake this game and do another FMV version of it because I love that they did that with Root Letter. I think it might get a little weird because there's a lot of Moida and dead bodies in this game in Root Film.
Yeah.
So that might get a little weird here. A little
messy.
But yeah. Before we dive into Root Film though, I know there was something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to mention it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So something that I think is worth bringing up, given who we are and what we do, is that it has been announced that later this year, Sony is going to take down the servers for the PSP, the PS3, and the PS Vita. And they're saying that you can no longer purchase the games. You should theoretically be able to download the games, but I don't see how that's really going to work.
That's basically they've confirmed that if you own the license for a particular game, you will still be able to re-download it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can no longer make purchases from any of those stores.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yes.
That would be my concern. Um, so yeah, this is obviously a big issue.
It's one of those things that you see coming from a mile away because it just isn't that surprising that they would do this. Also, like, I mean, Nintendo's already done this. They took
Hmm.
the Wii Shop offline.
Hmm.
You can no longer buy anything that was digital on the Wii Shop.
Correct.
So like, this isn't anything that's like, oh, this is a brand new thing. It's just,
It's
it's the
still a
first
practice.
100% because there's so many games, like digital only games, that are on the PSP, the PS3, and the Vita store that are just literally going to be unable to be played
Yeah,
after this. And also, like, allegedly, that I've seen some development teams be like, "Yeah, Sony didn't tell us that they were doing this."
that's trash.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where like you think of this in terms of just in terms of business, and it's like Sony is a very big company.
Yes.
How much would they really be losing by keeping those servers online? Like, obviously
Yeah.
you have to field like customer service people for that, um, and tech teams in case something goes wrong here and there. But like at the same time, like
It's a
how
drop in the
much
bucket.
is that really going to cost you? And like this is a precedent they're setting. So like who knows in 10 years when the PS4 store decides to just go offline, like how much just games are they going to lose then?
Right. And this is really going to end up hurting like indie developers
Mm-hmm.
harder than anybody because they tend to be the companies that do digital only releases because it's more affordable to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are getting rid of their ability to sell games in the future, then like, all right, cool. But also it's just really bad for consumers
Mm-hmm.
to just take down the servers and be like, no, you can't have that anymore.
It's going to drive up the cost of retro games again
Yes, it
in
will.
a way that they had been kind of, I think, petering down. Like sometimes some of them are kind of going back up because of just like the collector's market and everything. But having a lot of like those games just available digitally on a whim, I know some people just don't like it. They don't like the emulation in some of those games, but it was an easy way to get access to classic games, especially with the PS3 where it had the PS1 and PS2 classics on there.
Mm-hmm.
All of those going away means that market's going to just start climbing and climbing and climbing, and you're going to price out people who maybe like want to play older games but now have really no easy way to do that because it's going to be such an expensive market.
Right.
It's very it sucks. It sucks. That's the biggest thing about it. Like, and also like I know this probably isn't like the biggest thing on Sony's plate and everything, but like you literally just made one of the versions of the PSP obsolete.
Yeah.
The PSP Go, which was a digital only version of the PSP, that thing is useless now.
Yep.
Or at least after the stores go down, because you won't be able to do anything on there.
Nope. And I mean, it makes you wonder how things are going to go with the PS5 that is discless at this point. Like, how's that going to look in the future?
Obsolete. I mean, this is the thing we were saying about why that version of the PS5 is a bad idea, is because at
Correct.
some point they are going to turn those servers off, and you're going to be left with a box that can't do anything except play
Hmm.
games that you already own.
Right.
You can't go get new games. You're just going to be stuck.
Yep.
And like that is the thing we were we discussed that like this is a bad idea, that companies should not be going into like this digital only future because they're going to turn it around and be like, well, we have to turn these servers off because X, Y, and Z that don't make sense, and it's just going to hurt people in the long run. It's not a good investment.
Nope.
That's the big takeaway I think from this.
Yeah, it's just it really is. And like for a preservation standpoint, this is a really terrible idea. Not that game companies tend to give a crap about game preservation.
No, of course not.
Um, and I don't know if you saw the tweet thread that I posted when all this was initially going down, but I had a very funny response to it from a colleague that I enjoyed very much. Did you see it?
I think I saw some of it.
Um, so I said this is bad and Sony should feel bad. And he said, it is their God-given right to do absolutely nothing with these games for 85 years until they enter the public domain, and there's no way to play them just as the founders intended. Yeah,
I feel like if anything, this is going to fuel more people diving into the emulation scene.
yeah,
Um, I know obviously like PSP emulation has been a thing for a good long while.
yes.
PS3 emulation I think is starting to come into its own where like it's kind of being a viable option, and that's going to be a thing that I think is people are just going to go to be like, oh, if I want to play this game, I got to go emulate it because it's not available anywhere else. Like, how am
Yeah,
I
and I mean,
supposed to
like,
play this?
they're kind of taking away their own argument of like, oh, emulation is bad because it's getting rid of our sales. Like, oh, well, when you make it so that
You
you
were
can't
just
buy
handicapping your own
things,
sales.
yeah, like, your argument kind of like blows up in smoke, buddy.
And
But
one of the bad things about them turning off like the PS3 store is that like there's a handful of like weird Japanese games that they put out for like PS1 classics and PS2 classics
mhm.
that like are strange on their own that they're on the US store, and now they're just going to be gone entirely. Like that's a weird bit of history that you could be like promoting or doing something with, but then you're just like, now we got to shut all this off.
Yeah,
Who
terrible.
cares? It's dumb. It's very dumb. Like I don't understand how this industry keeps just doing this. Like I feel like if you're like any other media like industry seems to like have at least a decent grasp of like we should preserve our history.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to go watch a film from the 1930s right now, chances are you might be able to find it on streaming. You could probably find a physical copy of it. Like there are multiple avenues you could go to find this film or whatever. Games are
Yeah.
just like the opposite of that. Where like at some point you're going to have to find a physical copy and also a physical thing that you're going to need to put them in,
Mhm.
because Lord knows like there's a 50-50 shot of it being re-released at some point. And then also the game companies are going to be like, well, if you want to play this not on these systems, well, screw you.
Yeah, I mean, like once we got past the part in like film history where they were having to like melt down film for wartime efforts,
Mhm.
um, like people really did start to understand like this is actually something significant that we're doing and we should save it.
Or just like
And
reusing film and just overwriting it essentially.
yeah, that the first few years were rocky, but like we've been in the game, like video games have been around long enough to know better at this point.
Mhm.
And it's really, really frustrating that they just keep acting like everything is completely disposable. And it's really not. And I've had conversations with a colleague of mine, and he's also a friend, about like how cool it would be for like pedagogical purposes, teaching purposes, to have a platform that libraries could subscribe to that you could just like stream a game to your computer. Um,
All right, so let me tell you about Google Stadia.
no, 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 no. I mean like actual historical games.
Yeah,
Um,
Google Stadia, home to the classic games like Destiny 2, The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 3,
I mean that game is good.
the
It has
classics.
it has Kurt Vander in it.
Exactly.
Um, but I mean, I'm thinking like for educational purposes, if you're teaching the history of video games, if you're trying to teach basically any game at this point, like you're gonna have a very, very hard time getting the hardware, getting the game itself.
Well, that's
And
because the big three just don't give a shit about that.
they don't. They do not give a shit. And it's really, really frustrating. Like I at least I was gonna say like Microsoft at least allows you to like play like I can still play Lost Odyssey on my Xbox One. I know you can play it on the new Xbox, so that's pretty cool.
And I think they did come out. I mean, they made a PR statement, of course they would,
Yeah,
where they're like, "Hey, we're committed to trying to preserve games,"
yeah.
which take that for what it's worth. Um,
And there's a game company, and I forget who it is, but they're like, "Oh, we're going to preserve all the video games. We're doing that right now." And I'm like, "Oh God, this is going to end terribly when it's just one game company. It's like we're going to preserve all the games."
I mean, people are already doing that. It's called ROM dumps. It's called going to archive.org and finding all these dumps of games.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really, really devastating. As somebody who plays games and as somebody who researches games to see this kind of thing, that I know that this is just going to start being the norm at this point, and it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's a decision that doesn't really help anyone. All it
no,
does is make people mad.
correct. And my very decorative PS5 definitely has a disk drive in it.
I mean, that you're definitely using all the time.
Definitely using all the time. Like it keeps saying, "Hey, I'm going to turn on. Can you use me?" Right? And I'm like, "No, no,
No, go
no,
away.
no, go away." I'm trying to turn on the PS4.
I mean, I guess to be fair, like this isn't a surprising turn of events considering just Sony has kind of just been falling off the cliff and going downhill since that E3 where they did the funny video of them showing how to trade games on a PS4.
Oh God.
Ever since then, it's just been like, hey, we're the big dogs again. It's PS2 era Sony again. We don't give a about anything else. And it's like, oh, your hubris is showing again. Boy, howdy, the PS3 was 10 years ago, or 20, almost 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh my
15
God.
years ago, basically. But
Yeah.
and you didn't really learn from that, I guess.
Apparently not. Is it time for Sony to have their Wii U moment?
I mean, if those PS5 sales are anything to tell you about, they're not gonna have it anytime soon. It's just I think the hubris of the company is just kind of showing,
Yeah.
and it's the thing where Microsoft is becoming the fan favorite again. It's just this weird time is a flat circle.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to tell you, and that this sucks.
It sucks.
The industry as a whole should be better about game preservation. I mean, it's one of those things where like, I mean, we were talking about this earlier about like how the film industry had to learn like, oh, we need to start preserving stuff. Like
Yeah.
game industry is very bad about that.
Yeah.
About just like throwing stuff out, reusing like old cartridges and
Oh, hey, let's just throw out the Kingdom Hearts 1 code. Whoop.
yeah, like there was that thing about the re-release of Ninja Gaiden,
Hmm.
the Xbox games, where they literally came out and said, yeah, we have to do like these re-releases because the source code is just completely borked beyond repair. Like
Yeah.
we cannot use it. And that's a game that came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And they were still being like, who cares?
I mean, like you would think at some point they would take some kind of pride in what they're doing,
You would think.
but it feels like they don't, that they don't take any pride in like making video games or being game companies, that they're just like, "Bleh, it's out there, but goodbye. We don't care anymore." And it's like, guys, like a lot of this is even if it's not going to be culturally relevant, I don't know. Maybe game historians in 30 years will be talking about sneaking
I mean,
the Burger King game.
95% of movies and music is not culturally relevant.
Correct. But it's still preserved.
But it's still preserved, yeah.
Um, like if you're gonna release it, take pride in it. And understand that these things really do need to be saved. This isn't hard.
Care about the industry and the industry will care about you.
Yeah.
But apparently they just don't.
sucks.
I mean, I feel like at some point they'll have their coming to Jesus moment, but the industry is 40, 50 years old. And we still, I feel like, are making the same mistakes that led to the crash in 83. Like, that should have been such a monumental moment that people were like, we will never do these kinds of things again. But,
I mean,
capitalism exists, so.
Yeah, that's basically it. And, there have been warnings about, like, hey guys, things are leading to what led to that crash initially. Like, hey, maybe calm down. And it's been going on for quite a bit now, but even still, like, it's worth learning from previous mistakes and paying attention to, like, oh, hey, maybe we should not go down that route.
Yep.
Right, Loki? He's like, preserve your video games.
I've never made a mistake in my life.
Preserve your video games.
He's just holding up a tiny sign that says that.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Puts out the tiniest meow as well. But yeah, we just wanted to kind of touch base on that because it's a decision and it sucks and Sony should feel bad.
And it's something that we care about.
Yes. Well.
In better news, Root Film.
Let's talk about Root Film, a game that came out a few weeks ago in March, on March 19th, 2021. Mm-hmm. It is available for the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm. It's the first game I played on my PS5.
You played it on the PlayStation 5. Because, of course, I played it on the PS4, so we can't talk about the Switch version because neither of us touched it or played it.
Nope.
It's probably fine.
It's probably fine.
But I haven't heard one way or the other about if it's anything or not.
Yeah.
Because I think we're the only people who are talking about this game.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, it is an adventure game in the same style that Root Letter was. It's very text heavy and all that sort of stuff. Localization does have a few, spelling, grammatical errors here and there, which is to be expected from one of these games. I think at this point, where it's just like, yeah, you're just gonna deal with that. That's just the way it is. But it's nothing too egregious that it just continuously occurs. You'll just see it pop up here and there. So it wasn't anything that was detrimental to the game. It's just it's one of those things.
It's noticeable, but it's not something that's so egregious that people are gonna make a spreadsheet online and complain about it on Twitter.
I think that is a little bit of an oddity.
Yeah.
When it comes to these kinds of games, I will say though, I think I would give them a little bit of a pass because it has that sweet Toto's Africa reference in this game.
Yeah, it does. Oh man, I was so excited.
Pretty good.
I posted on Twitter and I sent it to you. I was like, this game, they're directly appealing to me by putting this line in there. And I was so stoked about it.
I'm gonna read you both of these lines that are in this video game. This is not a spoiler. It is a late game thing that you're looking through this room, and it has this just cultural items, I will say, is on the shelf. The main character is internally thinking, or I think the game's telling you, according to the labels, many of the items were collected from Africa, and then the main character internally thinks, it's gonna take a lot to drag me away from here, isn't it? Just perfect. It's perfect.
I lost my laughing when I saw this. I bet you can imagine my reaction when it came to that. Yeah. Oh man, I lost it. It was also very good. At
some point, they the word "yeet" is seen multiple times in this video game.
Multiple times,
which is very wild.
Yep, she eats some candy into his mouth, and she eats something else later on.
It's really good. So yeah, this is a murder mystery game, or at least that's the story of it. Essentially, you are tasked with trying to appeal to a television production company to become a director on this new project that they're doing, which is a reboot of a project they did 10 years ago that was shrouded in mystery and no one talks about it and everything. And along the way through the game, you learn about why that was such a mysterious thing, uh, these various murders that are keep popping up in front of you and everything, and how everything eventually ties back in together by the end of the game. I think the mystery stuff it does is really well done. Like by the time I was at the final chapter, I was still just like trying to puzzle my head of like, all right, what exactly is going on? Who is this main culprit we are trying to find and everything?
Yep.
What is this? Is there any other weird twists and turns that I need to figure out and everything? Which I think is a mark of something that's real fun and good in terms, at least in the mystery genre, that you're constantly just still trying to figure out like, okay, where is this leading me? And like how
Or
many
you think you've really got something figured out, and then they throw something at you. You're like, oh no, it wasn't like that at all.
how many theories can I come up with my head that are like, is this gonna happen? Is this gonna happen?
It's great.
It's really fun. I like the voice cast a lot.
Yeah, the voice cast was crazy.
Mm-hmm. The main dude, I don't know who like what he's been, or I haven't heard anything else that he's been in, but I think he does a good job as playing
He's in,
Max.
hold on. I saw something recently that he was in. Keep talking.
A lot of the main girl characters are from the J-pop group Iris. They also do the credit song for the game, so it makes sense that they're also kind of like scattered throughout the game as characters. There's two voice actresses who voice the two main girls from Root Letter, also are in this game, which I thought was a fun little throwback to that, because like one of them started speaking, I was like, I know your voice from somewhere. And then I looked it up, I was like, oh right, you're in Root Letter. That's why.
Yay!
And then some of the other characters there are also really good, and then they just got like some actual real life just director to just be in this game as a cameo, because sure.
Oh, I think I know. I think he's scheduled to be in that Catboy Atome.
Oh.
But he was also apparently in A Whisker Away, and he is a love interest in an upcoming Atome. Well, it's already out in Japan, but it will be over here later this year, Olympia Soiree. Which is, of course, how I know him, that I'm like, oh, Atome games. That's, of course, how I know this guy. Anyway.
Soiree. There's also like a lot of familiar voices in this game. The lady who voices Riho, the second main protagonist, was in Real Life. She was the volleyball friend, or whatever, the sports friend.
Oh, okay.
That had that little mini arc like midway through the series. Magari is played by the same lady who voices Mutsu from Love Live Sunshine.
Oh, snap.
Which I think she does like a really great job of being that kind of like snarky delinquent character.
Yeah.
Which is good, because like she doesn't really do a whole lot as Mutsu. She just kind of shows up here and there and is like, I'm a friend.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. Hitoa is, of course, voiced by Miyu Kubota, who we both know from Love Live Nijigasaki, from her portrayal as Karen, but also like this is a very different portrayal from how she does Karen, where Karen has to be like the sexy, mature, and I have a deeper voice, where like this character is more, I think, in line with like her actual voice. So it's very jarring.
And she's a bit more like meek and understated in this than she is as Karen. But yeah, it's way closer to her normal speaking voice tone.
Mm-hmm. And like it was fun because like we know who she is as a voice actress.
Right. And I was excited to hear her in this because
right,
she's great. And when you told me that she was in this, I think you showed me the trailer and you're like, there's somebody that we know in this. And I was like, oh, I know who it is. And so I was real stoked to hear her and to find out that she's actually like a main character.
Yeah, that was the thing I was surprised about. I was about to get at. Was like I figured, like, because I know all of the girls from Iris are in this, so I figured they'd all just be kind of like bit characters. Yeah, but like she's like a main character in this game, and I was like, oh crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the other characters I think is like from one of like the specific stories. I forget which one it is also in Love Live Sunshine because to get everyone from here. But she does like some bit roles. She plays a cabin attendant.
Oh snap!
Cool. And then the mom who of the girl who loses her dog in the Yohane Rico episode.
Oh okay.
Um, there's something else. One of the returning voice actresses from Root Letter is Katori's mom in OG Love Live,
Oh.
the principal, and then one of the play people in like the penultimate chapter.
Mm-hmm.
She was like the lady of that troop, like the older lady.
Right.
Is the voice of Shiitake and the llamas or the alpacas in Love Live.
Oh, good. Good.
Which, yes, good.
Very good.
So yeah, it's like a lot of weird like Love Live connections in this game that I was not expecting just looking through the voice cast.
I'll take it.
I like how behind the voice actors is like, you like Root Film? You might also like Death Stranding.
What?
That's what it says.
What?
So there you go. You've clearly like both these games. You should go play Death Stranding.
No.
Why not?
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
Um, one of the voice actresses actually voices Claudia in the Trail series, which is
Oh,
pretty
right,
cool.
right. Yeah.
That's
I remember seeing
awesome.
that. I think
Heck
is
yeah.
that one of the other returning girls?
Yes.
Okay. I remember seeing that. I forgot about it until you brought it up. But yeah, that's the thing as well.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, Root Film.
Root film.
It's an adventure game.
It is an adventure game.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Because God knows that they don't understand what a visual novel is.
Yeah.
Especially when it's the publisher.
Oh my God. The publisher's like, did you know this is a visual novel? Visual novel, visual novel, visual novel with a capital N, visual novel.
Also, hey, you want us to spoil something for you in this preview copy we're giving you?
Dude, and the website, the main website, they spoil like one of the big important mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yo, no. No, do that. That's bad. Not you, Maxwell. You're fine.
He's like, what did I do?
Sorry, I was just trying to get pets. Eh.
Yeah, that's wild.
I can't believe they just straight up spoiled it.
I guess they're just anticipating, like, hey, you'll forget about this, but by the time you start playing through the game, but like, ooh.
Yikes. Awful, but yeah. Visual novel, visual novel, visual novel, visual novel. This is an adventure. Sorry, I burped in the middle of that. This is an adventure game.
It is an adventure game.
With visual novel elements, which Nintendo got right.
Yes.
Because theirs says a thrilling adventure game with visual novel elements.
It's true. If you played Root Letter, like the gameplay of this is going to be very similar. It's a lot of kind of going between areas, finding things in the environment to look at and talk about, and then you'll get these phrases that'll kind of pop up, and you'll like store them in your memory bank, and you'll use those later on for this game's version of Max Mode, which is basically kind of like a showdown between you and a person. You have to uncover the truth that they're concealing, essentially, and you do that by like flipping through various phrases that you have that will correlate to whatever thing they just like said or whatever thing you last said. It is similar to like, you know, the cross examinations in an Ace Attorney game or something like that, except without like physical evidence. You just have like verbal evidence essentially.
Well, and I think it's interesting how they frame it. They're like, oh, yeah, Max has synesthesia. And so phrases like stick out to him. I'm like, oh, hey, that's actually kind of cool to have that like brought up in a game as a gameplay mechanic and not treated as like a negative thing.
Yeah.
It was pretty rad. There's one point in the game where you have a different mode, and I think you just like write down in your notebook.
I
But
liked how like they still like we still have this, but it's like is a character writing down notes. And I was like, that's brilliant.
yeah, that was good.
That's really good.
It made me giggle.
Yeah. Um. Outside of that, that's basically kind of the gameplay in a nutshell. You can't really talk about more because like that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, like you pick up the phrases, and then when you are trying to get somebody to tell the truth, you throw the phrases at them so that you
Yeah.
can contradict what they're saying.
Unlike Root Letter, this doesn't have multiple endings. It's a very straightforward, point A to point B plot.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like worry about choices or anything like that like you did in Root Letter to getting to like various either good, bad, or weird endings.
Aliens.
Yes. so you don't have to worry about any of that. It's just the plot is the plot.
Yeah.
So yeah. I guess we should dive into the story bits of this because like that's basically all else we can talk about with this game.
Actually, one other thing I wanted to talk about.
Well, let's do that before we talk about story.
The quiz guy.
Yes.
I found him a lot.
Yeah.
I got every single one of his questions wrong.
I got one of his questions right.
Oh man.
The rest wrong. But it was all just because I was guessing.
Yeah, like I even tried to look him up online to see if I could find something about it. I couldn't find any of them. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't find it. And I was like, what is happening with this guy?
Very, very weird. Also,
Like, I don't know if this is like trivia that people would ask, or if it's.
I think it's probably just trivia that if you know that area, because this is based off
okay.
the same area that I think Root Letter is based out of.
Yeah.
So if you knew like stuff about the area, you would be able to get those questions right. Obviously, for people overseas, they're probably 99.9% chance that you're just going to be guessing.
Yep.
Also,
there
is a trophy you get by going to a specific scene and finding just 3 characters on a beach.
Yes. And they're just chatting.
What is that scene?
I don't know.
Why is that a trophy?
I don't know.
I was like trying to like, am I supposed to know who these characters are? Like, who are you people?
Yeah, I don't know who they are. And I was like, all right, I got the trophy, I guess. And like, makes way less sense than like the one with the mascot. Like, I get that one is a trophy because like you actually have to look for that. Which I mean, I guess you have to technically look for these 3 people, but
Did
like,
you get both the mascot trophies?
Both the mascot trophies. What was the other mascot trophy?
I think if you find the mascot enough.
I found him every single time.
Okay.
So I got that trophy.
But yeah, like I wonder if like those are just people from that area that if you know that area they're like semi-famous or something, or like because like I tried to look like are these characters from Root Letter? Is like that the reference they're making? And it's like no, they're not.
Yeah, I have no idea who they are.
It's so bizarre.
It's got to be some kind of local reference. Like maybe they're like local newscasters or something.
That's the only thing that I could think of, but like
it's very weird.
I genuinely don't know.
So there are a couple things that are kind of lost in translation, but I think that's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That thing that obviously it didn't help that I was like playing that late at night and I got to that scene and I was like, what is happening?
Who are you people?
Why do you exist? Why did I get a trophy for this?
Trophy for the people. Why? Hello.
I don't understand.
I mean, yeah, basically that's what happened to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay. Hi, people, I guess. Goodbye. I don't know what any of that was about.
Oh, boy.
Now we can talk about the story.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll dive into spoilers here and there. We probably won't give you like a full just like, synopsis. Here's everything that happens. We'll just kind of hit some beats here and there.
Yeah.
But we will eventually talk about the ending and how everything, all the mysteries kind of come together and everything. So be wary of that.
Yeah.
So on the outset, you have this idea that there are 2 protagonists for this game.
Yes.
There is Rentaro, who is also Max, so that's how they get the Max mode and everything. And then there is Riho, who is an aspiring actress but also loves mysteries and everything. And she runs around with her manager, and they get into shenanigans. It's basically the same side as the Max side, where he is a up and coming film director, also likes mysteries and gets into shenanigans.
Yes. And also pals around with not his manager, but his editor, basically.
Mm-hmm. And the cameraman.
And the cameraman's hilarious.
Yes.
I love the cameraman.
So yeah, like on the outside, you kind of just like think like, oh, it's these two characters are going to basically somehow they're going to merge together at some point. We'll probably find something at the end that brings them together or anything. But basically midway through the game, you kind of realize, oh, that's not the case.
That's not the case.
Because there are 5 chapters for Max. There's only 2 for Riho.
Yep.
So like after the second, I played this game. I did Max, Riho, and then the rest of the game.
I did not play it like that.
How did you do it?
I did Max, and then I was gonna do Max 4, but I got locked out, which that was the part that was not translated. And I Google translated it, and it's like, yeah, you have to do both the Riho ones before you can continue on. I was like, oh, okay, whoops.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because like they start kind of diving into like.
Yeah, so I Max 1, 2, 3, Riho 1, 2, and then finished out the Max story.
Yeah, so like essentially like. If you got to Max 4, you would be very confused because like the Max 4 is a lot of references to Riho 2, and that's where you start to really kind of like get like, oh, things are not what I'm expecting here. There are a lot of things going really weird and different, and I don't know what's going on here. So if you'd barreled through that, you would probably just be like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
I guess some references I'm missing. So I guess for clarity, like we kind of talked about like the general basis of the stories earlier, but essentially like there is this project that they did 10 years ago. It was going to be like this mystery pilot for Shimane Television, and then partially way through production, it gets shut down, and no one knows why or what happened or anything. Why
they say it's cursed?
They say it's cursed. Everything. And Max basically kind of makes it his mission that he wants to figure out what happened during that production. Ends up kind of like finding all these people who were associated with it, or just kind of stumbles into finding them essentially. And then along the way, he keeps like running into like weird murder cases that keep popping up.
Yeah.
And the majority of like the early bits of his portion of the game is just like, trying to find people who will talk about the project 10 years ago, while also trying to start his own project that they're doing for the reboot, where they're having like 3 directors and 3 actresses, I guess, compete to be the person who does the project.
Yeah, I think that's
it's real weird.
But he's the noob, and he's doing a lot of like location scouting after he initially solves the mystery, and they deem him worthy. Yeah,
they basically give him like a fake version of the project from 10 years ago, and like, if you can solve this, we'll give you the right push to go ahead, because some people on the board or whatever are kind of weary about you because you're so new.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of the location scouting is where he just kind of stumbles into like these murder mysteries.
Yep.
And it's just like the whole time is like, ooh,
it's like, oh, we're here. We're taking pictures. We're going to the beach and having the weird underboob thing going on. Oh no,
someone we know died.
They died. Well, they didn't know the first one who died. They knew someone.
Well, they were in the vicinity of where
it happened.
They were in
the vicinity when it happened.
They knew like of that person.
Yes.
So.
It was still a traumatic event for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is correct.
It is a whole thing. So like, yeah, that's kind of the basis for the Max storyline. The Riho stuff is just like she's in Shimane and just, doing stuff. And like she goes and meets with her best friend for the first one, and then her dad dies mysteriously, and there's a whole thing about like the succession of family, because he was like this what's the word, estranged
Mhm.
family member who had left the family, but like he's kind of in line for it, but then he dies, and this other person comes in, and he gets murdered, and now it's like who does what, and
And
everything.
it's a closed room murder, so
Yeah.
you got the traditional, oh no, how did somebody murder him when
Mhm.
it's a closed room? What?
What? And then the second one is like she goes to like this very luxurious house that this mystery author built and everything, and then the mystery author just dies, and everyone's just like, what?
Time to solve the
Time
mystery.
to solve the mystery.
Everybody's like, oh, it's definitely her brother. Duh. All right, let me go home.
And it's
She's
like,
like,
no,
no, no, no, no. We're gonna
I've got
solve this.
this. Um,
That house is crazy though. There's so many weird contraptions and
mhm.
tricks to it.
Yeah. So like you get through her two, and then it's like, oh, there's nothing more. I was like, oh, maybe I'll have to keep going through the Max story to eventually like, oh,
That's what I thought.
there'll be another one that pops up and everything. But
Because
then,
there looks like there's a spot for it.
yeah, again, I think that plays into expectations of like, you think you're going to get more story out of that.
Hmm.
Um, then you get to Max chapter 4, or Max chapter 3. He's like, he keeps getting these weird emails from like this shady person who's like,
The
oh, I'm a
shaman
shaman
guy.
who's going to keep you from the curses and everything. And he's like, whatever, who cares? Um, and basically he gets told like, oh, hey, I want to meet up with you and all that sort of stuff. So he meets up with presumably who he thinks is this person, and then that person just gets shot in the middle of a performance that they're at,
And set on
and it's
fire
set on fire, and everything kind of goes to hell in a handbasket, and he
because
gets wanted for the murder
of a 3D gun.
because of a 3D printed gun and everything. And all that leads you into like the fourth chapter of Max, where you get captured and you find yourself in the same building as Riho 2.
And it's decrepit.
Everything is very decrepit. He like one of the things you first hear, like he says that like really tips you off that. He's like, he goes and gets into a he's like, there's dust everywhere. Also, he goes into a fridge and he's like, oh, this water's like 8 years old. And I was like, that's not right. Because
Yep.
you think because of how this game is setting you up that these are two stories that are happening concurrently,
Yes.
but they're not.
At all.
No. Also, he keeps mentioning, like, he keeps getting emails from his sister who's like, hey, I'm coming to Shimane. Hey, let's meet up. So, here was my galaxy brain theory after I did Riho 2, I think. I was like, Riho's the sister that's coming to Shimane. Because he gives, like, when he first gets the actresses for his part of the production, he looks through like, oh, this is a veteran. He looks through one and like immediately throws it back. He's like, nope, 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 nope. And then
Absolutely not.
he gets Hito's and is like, oh, okay, we can use her. Eventually he tells everyone like, oh, the second one was my sister.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what's your name and everything. He's like, oh, she uses a stage name. I don't want to tell you it, and all that sort of stuff. So like my galaxy brain theory was, okay, this girl is just recently come to Shimane,
Mm-hmm.
aspiring actress,
Mm-hmm.
uses a stage name.
Yep.
What if it's the sister? And then you were like, oh yeah, she also uses the synesthesia stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's true as well.
And she literally says like this is something that runs in our family.
I completely just didn't. I just completely like waved that away. I was like, no, I'm not gonna think about that. I'm gonna think about these three. And then you're like, oh, what about this? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's also true.
Yeah, because I galaxy brained that too, and I was like, oh, it's totally his sister.
Mhm.
And they're gonna come together and solve the mystery as siblings. That's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. And then like once the game keeps progressing and you don't get there, and then once you get to this part, and it's like everything's so decrepit, and I was like, maybe I was wrong about this because like there's such a time gap here clearly
Yeah.
that it wouldn't make sense if she's coming to Shimane then.
Right.
And then you get to like the beginning parts of chapter 5 and you see his sister finally. It's like, no, this is a completely different person.
Yep.
So I was like, what is happening?
And she's with her manager, and it's like that is definitely not the same person.
Yeah, her director is like the one who's the real person.
Yeah.
Which sure, why not? Eventually you find out that the two Riho parts are the first 2 episodes of the project from 10 years ago.
Yep.
Which was like, what?
Which totally makes the sign-offs make sense at the end of each one.
Yeah, because like they keep doing that, and it's like they play it off as like her practicing like lines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's just her doing her thing because this is a television show.
Right.
I think it helps as well because like in the Max parts they kind of like they're very adamant about technology and everything because this is basically I think it's supposed to take place in 2020 or 2021, basically modern times and everything.
Yeah.
They are not that adamant about technology in the Riho parts. There's the one girl who's waiting for someone when they're at dinner, and I'm pretty sure like they show her with a flip phone.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
That could be wrong, but I remember seeing someone with a flip phone in this game. I think during one of the Riho parts, and then in the Max parts, everyone has traditional smartphones.
Right.
But it's one of those things where like it's Japan. Some people are just gonna have flip phones. You could easily kind of just hand wave that away and not think about it.
Right.
But going back, it's like, oh, well, the reason that they don't have smartphones is because
10 years ago.
It's 10 years ago. This is 2010. Those weren't basically as big of a thing in Japan as they are now.
Right.
So it's like, oh, it's real good. And also just like the idea that like they're just able to mask everything because like essentially you were just playing the plot of this television show.
Yep.
And they just hide everything of like, you know, or like actors or camera people or any staff or anything or directors because like, you know, this is just the episode of the television show and you're just playing it out.
Yeah, like because you've been playing as Max and you kind of get like the groove of that, you think it's kind of the same thing. That's like, oh no, I've stumbled into this weird situation. I've got to solve it. Mm-hmm. No, it's all scripted. It's a TV show.
It's a really good twist.
With a very famous detective actor.
Yeah. Everyone's an actor in it.
I did not expect that at all.
I did not either. I was very like I was like, "Oh, wow. Wow. And then the twists just keep coming.
Yeah.
By the end of chapter like when in the final chapter where so you learned that the first 2 episodes, the Riho parts are those first 2 episodes, and then you also learned that there was a 3rd episode that was filmed. It was lost, but it was also like kind of filmed, but they didn't finish it, and that was the reason they stopped production entirely and then kind of hid it away and everything.
And that's part of why it was cursed, because the director of the first 2 died, and then the like famous guy who's supposed to be one of the 3 now took over.
Yeah,
as the director of the 3rd film.
Yeah, and Max is very adamant about seeing this 3rd film. And and everyone just like no, you shouldn't do it. Shouldn't do it. Everyone sees like, oh, this is a real bad idea. But like he's very adamant about it, but won't tell anyone why he's adamant about it.
Yeah.
There are multiple times like you know the mysterious shaman keeps referring to like, oh, I know the mysteries of 10 years ago. I know why you're connected to it. And then he also will briefly mention at times like, I'm going to finally figure out what happened 10 years ago. So you know he knows something about it.
Yeah.
He is connected in some way, shape, or form to this, but you have no idea what exactly that is.
Right.
And then eventually he's able to come into contact with the tape. And basically,
what's that 35 millimeter reel?
Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
Me.
It's film.
Yeah.
He's able to come into like the partially filmed 3rd episode, and most of it is normal and everything. But then like there's a part where the manager like gets a light dropped on her and like her shoulder gets burned.
Yep.
And then there's a bit at the very end where the lead actress like turns to the camera and jumps off a cliff.
Dies.
And they're like, is that real? Is that stage? We got to figure that out. I can't remember exactly the scene where like he reveals it, but like
Max basically says like, so that's what happened.
Yeah. And then they're like, what? And he's like, he just reveals, yeah, that was my sister.
Yeah, my older sister.
My older sister who died. I was like, oh, I knew it. I knew it. Inadvertently. Yeah. Cha-ching.
That his older sister had an illness.
Well, he didn't know that.
Well, that's true. But anyway, she
committed
suicide.
he knew that she committed suicide, and she was connected to this project, and that's why he was so adamant about finding it.
Right. The little sister says that she was sick.
Yeah, and he was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But yeah, he was adamant to learn what was going on because he knew she was connected to it,
Mhm.
and she committed suicide while it was going on.
Like he tells that to the dude who's like in the film archives.
That guy's weird.
He's weird, but he's all right.
Guy's coffee.
He tells like yeah, that was my sister who died. And he's like, oh, okay, I get why you're like so adamant about this now. Like, okay, yeah,
That explains some
I
things.
I get it. I get it. It's understandable. Um, you then learn that like because of the way the manager gets injured,
Hmm.
there is a character you see that dies in the second chapter that has a burn mark on their shoulder, and it's the same character, but you would have never known. You would have never looked to know. If you go back and like after the fact and compare the character portraits,
Hmm.
it's 100%. It's like, oh, of course, it's the same person.
Yeah.
But like at the time, you would never like think to do that unless you were like very meticulous about doing that. But like after the fact, it's like, oh my god, it's right in front of me the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have a reason to go look at both of their portraits,
No,
because like there's no indication that the manager had a burn because she didn't at the time, and
and you would have known because like you're thinking at the time these are two concurrent stories that are happening simultaneously.
that too, yeah. And I did find it kind of odd when I was playing through that second chapter and like I clicked on the burn. They're like, "Oh, huh, that's an old burn, interesting," and then just never mentioned it again. I was like, "Oh, like apparently that's not relevant."
Yeah, because they're just like, oh, that burn is not related to the case.
Yeah,
That's just a scar.
yeah,
And like he would keep going back to that scene, and they would keep showing it, like the specific scene that very clearly shows the scar
yeah.
before that. So
Like
like
he kept watching
they
that
very
video.
much want you to know that's a thing,
Yeah,
but you don't know why that they want you to know that's a thing.
right.
Oh man,
It's so clever. It's so well done.
it's really well done. Um, do you okay? So we'll get to exactly how everything kind of wraps up
Yeah.
in here in a little bit. But like, do you remember any like the theories you had in your head while playing through that final chapter of like how this is all going to wrap up?
I mean, my whole theory that got shot down relatively quickly was that it was the famous director.
Mm-hmm. I
'Cause
thought
it's like,
I thought he was connected in a way. I didn't know if it was actually him because I thought it may have been too that could be too obvious.
yeah.
But also, I was having some weirder theories, but we'll get to those.
Oh man. But that was my big theory. I was like, it's got to be that guy. Like he's got to be involved because like he seems to know too much. He was definitely involved with this and he's shady as heck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was my theory.
I think partially why I kind of shot down that theory in my head was like he's been too helpful throughout the course of the game. Like he's one of the big proponents of why you get Max and like find Max's innocence because he's like, hey, let's bring you this audio analyzer thing, and that
Mhm.
should help you, figure this out because like he'll be fine.
Well, doesn't she bring it?
I think
He's-
they both bring it. I think,
Okay.
but like, to me, it's just like he was too helpful in a way that it wouldn't make sense for him to be like the big bad. But I did think he was connected in some way, shape, or form. I just didn't know what way. Was there anything else that you were like just like spitballing in your brain that like was very weird and out of place that you thought, here's a 1% chance this could happen?
Um, the only other thing that I had thought of is that potentially Riho didn't actually die.
Okay,
But I didn't know how she would have actually been connected to everything.
right.
But that was the only other like real theory I had. And then once I got shot, I was like, I don't know.
I also had a Riho still alive theory, and
Okay.
that was partially why I went through. I was going through and looking at each character from each. Like I was trying to compare her portrait to other characters. That's how I found the manager and the one ladies, how their portraits were just basically the same. So I kept going through like, all right, who does anyone look like her? It's like she's just hiding out and we just don't know it yet. Are these character portraits the same? Like, no, it doesn't really match up. At one point, I thought the director's manager or assistant was somehow Riho,
I did think that too. 'Cause
but like
they
the
look
the portraits
somewhat
just
similar.
the portraits don't match.
Yeah, they looked somewhat similar, but I think it was just they had straight black hair and
The eye shape is very different.
yeah.
Um, I had two other theories that one person on your team is going to betray you.
Who'd you think it would be?
I don't know. I just thought that might be an option. Or my other option was Max is the villain the whole time.
Oh man. How would that have
I
worked?
don't know, but like that was in the back of my head. Like maybe that's the thing. Maybe he's just gaslighting everyone.
You got betrayed by the cameraman. I love how like at one point somebody's like, "Oh my God, you're actually like really handsome. Why haven't I noticed you?" He's like, "Yeah, people really noticed that I was kind of hot like in middle school, and I
Yeah,
didn't like that people were looking at me, so I kind of learned how to like blend in." It's like because you don't even see him until like chapter 3, I think.
yeah.
Like he's always off to the side. Like you'll see
It's
like
like
half of his
yeah,
face or something.
doesn't say anything.
Doesn't say anything. If he does say anything, it's like,
The best part is like characters will come up to him and be like, "Who's this person you're with?" And they're like, You've already met. We've already met.
yep.
We met before."
He's a really good
It's
character.
real good. Yeah.
He's a very enjoyable character, but yeah, I mean, he would have been the only one that would have actually been on your team to betray you because I don't think she would have done it.
No, like I. That's why I kind of like. They kind
Clear
of
that
like
out.
they try to push you almost like very briefly in that direction with the mirror thing
Yeah, yeah. They were
because he's
like,
like
"Oh, hey, maybe
looking at
maybe this
someone. He's
is."
looking at one of us, but he's like, "Oh, it's just a mirror."
Yeah, because he was like, "Yeah, the cameraman would have been like 16 at the time. Probably not gonna happen
Right, because like it needed to be someone that would be connected to the events of 10 years ago. So like anyone on the team would have kind of rule out anyone on the team.
because they're younger."
They're
Like
younger and
even
like
Max, I think, is like 16 at the time, right? He was like 26-ish. They're probably
yeah,
around the same age.
yeah. So like it would not add up unless somehow they were like on that crew.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, they
The-
did try to throw you off like, oh, they were looking in that direction.
yeah. So basically, like all my theories were just very out of there. But then like once once it kind of comes together, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of where it's going,
Yeah.
which makes sense because like uh. So eventually, it all kind of comes together that it's the famous director's assistant
Yes.
who's doing this, which she's always been around in the periphery of scenes and everything, and just kind of been nondescript except for like everyone's like, oh, she's real pretty and everything. She's real nice and all this sort of stuff.
Her name is Monami.
Yes. Um, but eventually you just like figure out the director when he was dying looked in the mirror and saw her and was like, oh, I see.
I see.
And then you kind of learn the
Oh yeah,
way.
by the way, the famous director died.
Yeah, you go interrogate him and then he just starts vomiting up blood. It's like, whoa.
It says, "Oh, I see," and then dies.
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, wasn't you then?" At first, though, I did think that maybe he took like a suicide pill.
Same. That's all. I was like, did he like suicide capsule himself?
Yeah, he did not.
Um,
He just died.
yeah. But then you eventually like you look into like the spooky shaman and like how like they kind of manipulate people and like how they keep messaging people around you. So like they messaged one of the murderers from the second case.
Mm-hmm.
They were involved in the third case, and then you started finding like, oh, they've been messaging Hitoa because Hitoa also has kind of like the same incurable disease that his sister had.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, you should do this, you'll get better. Oh, you didn't do this one thing, now you're going to get punished for it and everything.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. Like she plotted out like both of the murders in the second case. She's like, yeah, I just gave him, the methods and
Mhm.
a little push. That's all it took.
And she like eventually like you find like, oh, she's on this beach in like a director's chair and basically trying to lure Hitoa to her death by suicide and
She
filming
likes
on camera again because
filming the
that's what she
deaths.
did to Max's sister.
Rio.
Basically she like describes like, oh, I'm doing this to help you because if you see these deaths, you'll become a better director, you'll become a better writer. That's what the other director did. That's what helped him become this visionary director and how he was able to become so much better than he was because he got to see the raw emotion of human life and death and people passing to the other side and everything. There was, okay, to backtrack a little bit, the very beginning of this game involves someone falling from a building, dying, and a bunch of
Yes.
people showing up with phones and just not giving a shit about them. And the
Correct.
character is just like talking about about their sister.
Yes.
You
And I
never.
had honestly forgotten about it until like the very end. I was like, oh.
So they basically never mentioned that ever throughout the rest of the game until this point.
Yes.
Around, I think, the beginning of chapter 5, that scene popped back in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, that has to be a connection somewhere, but I don't know who this is going to connect to.
Like I was worried that Max was going to be one of the ones who had been filming her. And like that was her revenge type moment, but
Yeah, I didn't go to like that far. I was like just trying to like suss out who's the sister that this person's referring to, like which person had a death like that, and like I couldn't think of anyone. But I was like, that scene has to come back at some point because they wouldn't just show that scene at the very beginning for no reason.
And they do nothing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that would make no sense. But yeah, basically it wraps back around with like, oh, it was Monami's sister who died.
Twin.
Her twin, yes, because they have another instance earlier in the game about twins having like this premonition type thing with each other,
like a spiritual connection, and how he wanted the twin to die so that he could get rid of that feeling because his twin was depressed a lot.
Yeah.
And so he was feeling those feelings and he hated it. And and so this is the same thing. This is her twin. She's like, yeah, I felt it when she died.
I saw all those people like crowd around her and just didn't do anything, so now I'm going to extract revenge, essentially.
Yep.
So she explains all that, and then Max is like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do any of that. No. I'm good.
Murder, still murder.
Yeah, I'm not into your weird Faces of Death pirated copies. I'm good. I don't need those.
Nope.
He then goes and grabs like Hitoa from the ocean before she's like drowns herself, essentially.
Yep.
Because she basically kind of gets into that same mindset of like, oh, I'm going to die anyways. I'd rather go out on film than have people forget me. And he's like, no, let's just work together and we can do this a better way.
We're going to make a film where everyone will remember you.
Yay.
And I do like that he goes in and tries to grab her and he's like, oh, no, I can't do this. And then other people come in and like, we'll help you. It's fine.
The creepy fan cop
Yeah.
gets his one just desserts of just being able to save them.
Yeah, because he sucks otherwise.
I did like the detective duo. I thought they were like a very fun like counteraction to the main group.
Yeah.
Where like you have like the really straight man detective who's just like the hard boiled one who's
I like the gruff guy.
been around the block, and then you just have this weird idol fan detective who's just like goof and just like is easily influenced into like giving up information and then getting spin kicked to the head.
And also at one point gets mistaken for somebody that's higher ranked than he is, and he's just like, shh.
They're like, oh, we're gonna tell on you, and he's like, no.
No, you can't do that. That would be bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they're a fun little duo that, is able to kind of work together with everyone. But yeah, they're able to. He comes in and grabs them and gets them out of there, and everyone else is there, and then the gruff cop is just like, yeah, you're under arrest, and she's like, yeah, yeah,
I knew that was happening.
yeah.
Oh well.
But yeah, I really liked how everything eventually kind of just comes together in a really kind of like a good point at the end.
It was very satisfying.
It's very satisfying.
And I really like how it was all framed. Like it came together very well. It kept me like on the edge of my seat the whole time. That I was like, oh man, I gotta solve this mystery. And I also really liked during the credits that they filmed the movie with her.
Yeah.
Like you get to see them filming and the release of it, and
they change it to like the wheelchair detective or something like that because like she's
yeah.
getting sicker and everything, but they're able to get everything done before she eventually passes away.
And then they wrap it all around to the beginning again where they met her, and they met her with the letterbox to the other side, and they sent her a letter, and it's like, oh, they did the thing.
It's really good how they're able to like very much just bring everything together in a lot of various ways. Like that's like that thing at the very end there is a very small, minute detail that you could easily just kind of forget about. But they were able to wrap it around and make a whole lot of sense and make it a more emotional moment because
that was the first place they met her. That she wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh,
it's real good.
And like I think that's way more powerful than showing them like at her gravesite or something like that.
Totally, totally.
Like I appreciated that.
Yeah. Like obviously, I think when you're going through those images, like you kind of have an idea, like things are not going to
You
end,
know where this is gonna go.
going to end well, and like they show like the end, like they show it from behind, and you're kind of just like, and then it flips around, and it's like, oh, right, 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 right.
Yep.
It's a really good moment.
It was very, very good. I was glad to see how it all wrapped up
Mm-hmm.
because like he promised her that he would make a film where she would be remembered and he was able to do that for her and
Mm-hmm.
it made me happy.
Yeah.
It's a very good game.
I think it helps that like it doesn't have like the multiple endings route where like
Yeah.
having this just one distinct ending just makes it more impactful and emotional at the end.
Yeah.
If you rather than if you had like multiple ones where you kind of like be like, well, which one's the better one? Where's the
Yeah.
alien one?
Where's the alien one? God.
Yeah, like I agree. Like I had a really good time playing through this.
I knew you would. And I kept poking you. I'm like, you need to play this. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it a lot. You're gonna like it. You're gonna
I
like it.
had other games to get through.
I know, but it was really good.
Yeah, like the murder, the mystery stuff, I think was really well done, just
Mhm.
constantly throughout. There's enough really good twists and turns that keep you on the edge of your seat all the way up to the end and everything. Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah, I
And a
really
really
liked
good
it.
time throughout this. It's a better game than Root Letter.
It is definitely a better game than Root Letter, in my opinion. Like, I think the characters are much more likable.
Mhm.
I think that in a lot of instances the writing is better, and like you said, I think having one solid ending makes the mystery of it a lot more impactful.
Yeah.
Because you know what happened. Like you get a conclusive answer of this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Very well done. I would definitely play another game by them.
Make an FMV version of this, and then also make another game in general, because
Yeah. Why not both?
why not both?
Why not both?
Why not both?
Do we get a yeet in the live action version of this?
I hope so.
Yeet.
I can't wait for them for when they do for when that Americanized version of Root Letter comes out, that they are like, let's make an Americanized version of Root Film.
No.
That film apparently started shooting in September 2019.
What?
From Wikipedia, the adaptation is envisioned as a gritty reimagining of the game's core story of a protagonist in search of a former pen pal who disappears under curious circumstances.
Oh God! Don't do gritty. Why would you do gritty?
I am not. I'm going to say I'm not thinking this is going to be a good film.
I have major
I have
doubts
doubts.
that it would be a good film. Ugh, why are they doing that?
Money.
Money.
Hey, if this helps fund another game in the series, sure, make your film. I don't care.
Yeah, valid. Very valid.
And then you can make more Toto references in the next game.
Please, the more Toto references, the happier I am.
Please welcome our new character, Rosanna.
Oh man, this comes after me reading through this whole controversy with the Geofront translation of Zero,
Mm-hmm.
and how people got mad about certain things and the way they translated it. I'm like, guys, it's not that serious. And like, this was a solid joke that was very funny and broke up a lot of tension. And it's fine to do that sometimes.
Yeah, like this line is probably the original line was probably something like, "Well, look at these artifacts. That's cool."
Yeah.
Make things fun.
I like when things are fun.
Exactly. Literal translations usually are not good anyways.
They're usually very bad.
So you got that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game's really good. I would definitely suggest going out of your way to pick up this game, especially
Yes.
because it is not a full price game.
Yeah.
You can get it for like, I think it's 40 originally.
I think so.
40 or
Because
50. It's not 60, so that's good.
Amazon was trying to swindle me.
They almost swindled you until I was like, hey, did you know you could get this for like cheap? And you're like, what?
Except for the fact that I apparently forgot to cancel it and still got the physical version.
Whoops.
Whoops. My B. Which,
But
I mean, hey, given what we were talking about earlier, maybe not a bad
maybe
thing.
not a bad thing, yeah. So there you go. Like we said, I think.
Oh, and the art's nice.
Yeah, the art's nice. It's the same style as like Root Letter. It's a little like more. I don't know what would be the word to describe it? Like a little bit more grungy.
Yeah.
It's a little rougher around the edges, but I think it works.
I like it a lot.
For this, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of like the Zero Escape art style.
Mm-hmm. True. So yeah, make an FMV version of this game and make another game in this series.
Yeah.
Because they are good games, and
Yeah.
we need more good Japanese adventure games to come out over here.
Yes, I agree.
True that.
True that.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this episode, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. If you would like more from us, go to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Anime Checkup and Jared Now Watch.
Woo!
You also find columns and reviews on the site as well.
Yay.
If you want more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup, excuse me.
Whoops.
You can buy our books, One Shining Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and bonus episodes as well. Like we did a podcast where we talked about The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, we did.
A fantastic film. Fantastic piece of media.
Hulk car.
Bow Wow, bad southern accents.
Great snack eating.
Great snack eating, drifting. Well, what more could you ask for?
A better soundtrack.
I don't, no.
Not terrible accent.
No. But then
For the best character to not die.
Well,
Potentially, I got that one.
yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. So if you want to listen to that and other bonus episodes that we've put up out on the Patreon, go to patreon.com/SACOVA, become a patron, and you can do just that.
Yay.
Next week, I don't know.
We
will talk about something else, and we'll figure that out like the day before, as we usually do, and be like, hey, you want to talk about this? Yeah, okay. All right, that's what we're talking about.
It's in the Bernie meme.
Exactly. We just don't have a schedule for it right now because there's a bunch of things in the air that we just have to finish or do or whatnot. So we'll just be like, we'll figure it out when we come to it. So yeah. Look forward.
I have to close this Wikipedia page, or I am going to edit the entire Wikipedia page.
Do not do that.
I've already edited a lot.
You have. But for now, look forward to whatever great things we have next week.
Always.